So that's really good. Do you have any more lectures after this, guys?
We have a trial exam.
Okay, yeah. I told registry I just couldn't do trial exams. They were asking far too much of me. With these exams, they've got to be online, which takes a long time to do, and they've got to be we've got to do question banks, so you're not all getting the same questions. Then I've also got to write a resit exam in case anyone has a problem with their internet. And so in the end, I had to write 9 exams. And I just said, there's no way I can do a trial exam too. It's not going to happen. But it's fairly simple. Have you all done a quiz on Moodle before?
Yes.
Yeah, so there isn't really much to be gained from it. Yeah. Okay. Hammer isn't coming. Haven't heard from Hammer.
No.
Okay, well, this is being recorded, so hopefully he will have the benefit from that. Oh, here he comes.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, actually.
How are you, Ivan? Good morning. Did you just wake up?
Yes, sir. And I slept at 10:30, by the way.
You slept until 10:30.
Hello, sir.
How are you doing, Hammer?
I'm good, thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, yeah. This is my final lecture, so I'm feeling pretty happy. So, yeah.
I bet you are.
Yeah. So, Ivan, I take it then online learning, this is something that actually suits you because you can just watch lectures whenever it is you wake up. There's no time. You've got to be at uni. You like it? Ivan? Okay, she's not talking to me now.
She probably fell asleep again.
Possibly, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have that effect in lectures. So guys, we've I finished marking assignment 6. Did you all get your marks for that?
No, sir, but I got my overall. How much did I get?
Are you happy for me to call out what you got?
For the assignment, yeah, for the last assignment, yeah.
Hang on one moment, I'll just open it. Gosh, I've got so many windows open in my computer. Okay, so Hammer, you got 69% in for
Wait,
total
for the last
assignment.
one?
No, you got 90% in the last assignment. Good job.
And the one before that, I got the 91, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So, all but one of you has done pretty well with the assignments. You know who you are. So, shall we get underway with a review? Okay, I'm just going to share my screen now.
So did you say only one person did good or like only one person did bad?
Only one person has done quite poorly in the assignments. I won't name or shame him or her, but they know who they are and they've got work to do for the final exam.
Hassan?
So here we go. Where is it? Can you all see my computer? Can you all see the computer screen?
Yes,
Okay. Here we go. Review. Okay, so a final review for engineering economics. So you've got an online exam. It's 1 hour long. The time has changed. Were you told 11 a.m. or 9 a.m. for this exam? I keep forgetting. what time were you told for this exam?
Sorry, I think it's 11.
I'll just double check that. They keep changing the times with us, so
Aren't they all from like 10 to 11?
hang on.
I think they're all from 10 to 11.
No, they're not. So yeah, this is 11 to 12. So yeah, ignore that. That's 11 a.m. Oh wait, that's not even the right one. Oh yeah, it is. To 12 p.m. So we know that midday is 12 p.m. now, don't we? If you've learned one thing in this course, it's that. So yeah, 1 hour. It will be 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the 30th of June on Tuesday. So you don't have a lot of time to study for this. Be aware. Now, it's a 1 hour exam and it needs to be finished by 12 p.m. It will be open from 11 a.m. But if you log in at, say, 10 minutes past 11 a.m., then you will have 50 minutes to do the exam. So make sure you're ready at 10 to 11 to click on the button and it will let you in. Be aware of that. Also, the exam is completely open book. You can use the lecture slides, you can use the crash course of economics, you can go to Google, you can go to textbooks, whatever you want. It's all open book. What I do not want you to do, though, is work together. I don't want you texting one another, trying to work on the problems together. And I think there isn't much to be gained with the rules I've put in place. So you will have 25 questions that are multi-choice. So you've got about an average of just over 2 minutes per question to get through the exam. And they will be selected randomly from a pool of 50 questions. So what does that mean? It means that the questions that Shana gets are not necessarily going to be the questions that Belinda gets, and they're not necessarily going to be the questions that Hassan gets. Now, with that, one of the big concerns is some people think, well, what happens if I get harder questions than Avan? That's just not fair. Well, the questions have been graded and grouped according to their level of ease, and so there's 5 easy questions, 10 medium questions, and 10 harder questions that you will face. So be aware of that. Also, the questions will be completely shuffled. So potentially Shana and Belinda will get the same question, but it might be question number 2 for Shana and question number 10 for Belinda. So, and also the answers will be shuffled. So Shana cannot phone up Avan and say, Avan, hey, if you get this question, the answer is A. Because it could be C for Avan, because the answers will be shuffled. So with all, and finally, I haven't made a point of a bullet point here, but all of the questions will be sequential. What I mean by that is once you answer one question, you cannot go back to, you will be taken to another page, a new question, and you will not be able to go back and re-answer a question. If you skip a question and you go to the next question, you will not be able to go back and redo it. Once you answer a question, that's it. You won't be able to go back. Is everyone clear on that? So the reason we do that is so that there isn't anything to be gained from trying to cheat and work together. I cannot stop you from cheating and working together. I hope you wouldn't do that. I really hope not.
Sir,
But I can stop you from profiting from it. Avan.
sir, last time you had a trial exam with Dr. Idris, and he's like, we will change this option. Like, you can go back to the previous question. Like, sir, it's not, maybe it's good for cheating, but you know, for example, you don't have time, you don't know question one, and just go to question two because it's limited, just 1 hour. So whenever you did question two and you did all the questions, you will go back to question one.
Yeah, you will have plenty of time to do the questions though. So remember, they're multi-choice questions. They're 25 minutes. You've got a little bit over than 2 minutes on average to do every question. So yeah, some of the questions you're going to do in 10, 15 seconds. And so the harder questions, you will have a good 5 minutes or so to do them. So there's nothing to be gained with it, with having a free order, meaning you can go backwards and forwards. So I'm leaving it as sequential because I don't want to have to do a reset when there's been accusations of cheating. So there's nothing to be gained for you with it being a free order. So that's why it's going to be sequential. Also, I can't speak for my other colleagues, but we've been told by registry that the exams have to be sequential. So I'm just doing what my boss tells me here. So, yeah. Any questions on that, or can I go to the next slide?
Sir, another question, sorry.
Yep.
I sent you an email about like, can you tell me the average? I got, what you told me I got 83%. And now I see 76.
Okay.
Why that?
Okay, one moment. I'll come back to that, Avan, but I can't look. I'm sharing my screen at the moment, so I can't just look up your mark. Yeah, I gave you two. When I talk about the overall assignment mark, I'm talking about the average of your best 5 assignments.
Okay, sir. It's an 83, but now I've seen it's 76 without the worst one, let's say.
Okay. What's your
So,
question?
so sir, what one it is?
It'll
It's
be
83 or
Look, Ivan, I can't look it up. I'm in the middle of a review here, but yeah, if you
okay,
have you got all of your assignment marks?
yes, sir.
So take the best 5 assignments of your 6 assignments and take the average of them. That is your overall assignment mark.
Okay, sir, it's 83.
Okay. Yeah. So this is something you all need to be very aware of, though. This is very important you understand this. Your exam is 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you have a problem with your internet, with your electricity, and you cannot do the exam, if it keeps freezing, whatever, you need to phone me on my phone number immediately, okay? Absolutely immediately. Do not wait until after the exam to phone me. You must phone me during the exam. If you do not phone me during the exam and tell me you're having an internet problem, you cannot do the resit exam, which will be that afternoon. Is that clear? Do not call me at 5 minutes past 12 and say, sir, I couldn't do the exam. You will be receiving a big fat 0 for the exam grade. So please do not do that. You've got to phone me during. So make sure you've got my phone number in your phone, ready to call me if that's the problem. Also, if at any point a question is unclear to you and you want me to clarify what I mean by the question, you can phone me and I can try to clarify what I mean by the question. I've tried to be very clear though. However, be aware I cannot teach you. So it's not like asking me for a problem when you're having a problem with the assignment. The teaching is over as of today. But the reset exam, if you do have a problem, if you can't do the exam because the internet's gone out or what have you, then there will be an exam at, I think it's 2 p.m. on the same day. It will be completely different questions, but it will be the same system. It'll be 25 questions from a pool of 50 questions. And you can only do it if you call me during the first exam. Now, guys, please do everything you can that's within your power and might to make sure your internet and your electricity is working for the first exam. The resit exam, I'm going to be honest, I've written it, I think it's marginally a little bit harder. You don't want to do the resit exam. You want to do the first exam. Please make sure your internet and electricity is working. If you're living in a village or something, come into town, do the exam at Donut World. Heck, I will buy you a donut if that's really what you want to do. You can come to my house if you want. I've got much better internet now. I've got fiber optic. I've got a UPS. You can do the exam pretty safely at my house. If you want to come and visit me at my home, you can. But please do everything you can to make sure your internet and electricity is functioning. Is that clear?
So can we come, like me and Belen come and do it, but like...
Yep, you at my house, you mean?
Yeah, give the room to us, but we won't cheat.
Yeah. You can come and do it, and you can come and do it in my house. I'll put you at 2 different places. You won't be able to talk. Well, on either end of a table, and yeah, you can't talk to one another. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can definitely come to my house. That's fine.
Okay, so
You were hoping to find an avenue to have Belinda in the room to cheat, weren't you, Hammer? I've never trusted you. Your eyes are way too close together. Okay. Guys, please try to have some integrity. Don't call one another up. Don't cheat. There's nothing to be gained here. The questions are sequential in different order. You won't have time to help one another. This is meant to be testing your ability, not your neighbours. Please don't cheat. I've already had an issue with one of you cheating in the assignments. I really shouldn't have to deal with that at UG3. You know, the cheating at UKH is a real big problem, guys. The stuff that you guys have pulled on me in the past, that would have been grounds for an expulsion at many other universities. So, yeah, try to have some integrity and do the exam on your own. You need to have your phone for calling me and nothing else. So where do you access the online exam? It's on the Moodle page. And sorry, I've got that wrong. That should read 11 a.m. Tuesday, the 30th of June. Sorry, they changed the date on me and I forgot to update that. But if you scroll down on the Moodle page and come to week 10, week 11, there will be something that says online exam. And there will be a little quiz tab, and you click on that. And you will be able to do the exam from 11 a.m. and you will be given 1 hour to do it, until 12 p.m., sorry, to do it. So be aware of that. That's where you access it. Has everyone done a Moodle quiz before?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think Dr. Carroll
There's
likes
also-
doing them. Yeah. I can't stand them. They take forever to write, but Dr. Carroll likes them. So again, that should say 11 p.m. But remember, your final mark is 80% for your assignment mark and 20% for your online exam mark. That will give your final course mark. So now some of you clever sticks are probably working it out and thinking, hey, I've already passed the course with my assignment mark. I don't need to do the exam, or I don't need to at least study for the exam. Don't think like that. You have to do the exam, otherwise you will not pass the course. That's in the module descriptor. Also, this is not currently a rule. It's not in the module descriptor, but the module descriptor keeps changing so many times because the blue building keeps changing the goalposts on us. Be aware that sometimes this is a rule for modules in other universities. You need to pass the final exam or you fail the module. So all of you should be aiming for 50% or higher. I'm hoping they won't make that a rule. I hope, but make sure you aim for 50% or higher. You're all capable of that, all of you. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
Okay. So how to study? You don't have a lot of time to study, so that's why I always try to encourage students to study throughout the semester rather than try to cram right at the end. That's one of the reasons why I favor doing weekly assignments, to encourage you to study. I don't know if that works, but that's what I do. But keep in mind, if you haven't, what you can do is you need to review the lecture notes and the slides, and also look at the assignments and review them, and maybe redo the assignments, but also look at the model solutions. See where you went wrong and learn from your mistakes. And then when you do that, hopefully you're going to be well prepared for the exam. I think the assignments are harder than the exam, but if you've cheated in the assignments, then you're potentially at risk. Focus on the sections where you performed poorly in the assignment. If you did really well with elasticity, but very poorly in externalities, double down on externalities. Focus on that. See if you can improve your understanding of externalities. You don't have time to cover everything. So yeah, what it covers everything that we've covered in class, and it's been a very light module, I think personally. You've only had about 8 weeks of teaching, and usually a university semester is 16 weeks of teaching globally. So yeah, it's a very light module, but I think it's also potentially quite challenging. There isn't a lot of stuff to learn, but it's also quite deep if you've not been exposed to economics before. So with scarcity in markets, remember Maslow's hierarchy of need. Remember the definition of goods and services, the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. Production possibility curves, remember those, how much fun we had with those? Look back at the practice questions we did in class. Opportunity cost, what is that? Well, it's the cost of foregoing the next best opportunity. Why we have specialization, and talk about how we specialize in terms of comparative advantage as opposed to absolute advantage. So there were a few questions we looked at in the assignment, and I seem to remember a lot of you did pretty poorly in the comparative absolute advantage question in the assignment. So I recommend you go back and look at that. Supply and demand. So we talked about those two curves, the supply and the demand curve, and how they intersect and form a price, an equilibrium price in a free market. And we talked about the effects of complementary and supplementary goods, and also the effects of income, whether the good is considered as superior or inferior. If people's incomes go up, then superior goods, the demand increases. And if it's an inferior good, the demand decreases because they buy superior goods instead. Also, the difference between demand and quantity demanded, and also the difference between supply and quantity supplied. You've got to know those differences, guys. I've tried to stress that to you so much. Also, how expected future prices can affect demand, and also the effect of whether with supply. What are some of the changes in price of inputs. So if the price of electricity goes up, then potentially the supply of manufactured goods will go down because the cost will go up to produce one item. So yeah, remember, basically I gave you a lot of questions which had 3 marks to them. And remember what happens if the demand curve shifts to the right or to the left, what happens to the price, what happens to the quantity, and the intersection with how it interacts with supply. This table you shouldn't be memorizing, you should be understanding. And you should understand that if this curve shifts to the left, then the price goes down and the quantity increases, or what have you. You should understand that by now. Elasticity, this has to do with how steep the demand or the supply curve is. If it's a very steep angle, it's inelastic. If it's very shallow, it's elastic. And so how is the elasticity of a good affected by whether it's a supply, if it's a luxury or it's a need, a necessity? How much proportion of someone's income it is, how expensive it is, effectively. Also, are there close substitutes? Can people, if they don't buy that, quickly switch to another good, which works exactly the same way? Narrowness of definition, that has to do with closeness of close substitutes too. Price elasticity of demand. So that's basically trying to work out how much demand will change if a price changes. How much the quantity will change if the price changes, sorry. Revenue determination. A lot of you lost marks in the assignment on this, but remember the revenue test is basically the quantity multiplied by the price. And if the demand is inelastic, that means you increase the price and you increase your revenue. If the demand is elastic, you need to decrease your price and you will raise your revenue. Does that make sense? Okay, you need to, if that doesn't make sense, give me a phone call, but look at the lecture slides because a lot of you lost marks there. Short and long-term demand. We talked about that example of me filling up my car with fuel. On day one, I'm probably not going to do anything. I'll just pay more for fuel, but probably next year, when I'm in a position to buy a new car, I'm going to be buying a Prius and demand for fuel will drop. Cross-price elasticity, that's how, that's to see if a good is either complementary or substitute to another good. And income elasticity, how much demand changes with income. We also talked about the elasticity of supply and how storage potential and also effects in the production can influence the elasticity of supply. Externalities. This is where civil engineering starts combining with economics. But basically, market failures happen in a free market where the price and the quantity consumed cross over, where only internal benefits and costs have been considered. But in truth, there are a lot of external benefits and external costs which need to be considered. And there's a lot of deadweight loss or overuse, potentially, when things are left entirely to a free market. And that's why governments get involved and pay for things like roads. And they get involved and put taxes on things like fuel or cigarettes. They're trying to internalize the externals. So we talked about a few different systems for doing that. Coase theorem. That seems to be one system that some of you struggle to understand. So try to think about that. That might be a good thing to go back and look at, because a few of you lost marks there too in the assignment. Yeah, and the advantages and disadvantages of all of these different systems. So in New Zealand, cigarettes have a big external cost, and the government really wants to reduce the number of people buying cigarettes and the consumption of cigarettes. So what they do is they use a Pigovian tax. And that's why in New Zealand, it would cost me $20 to buy a packet of cigarettes. So why, but that doesn't actually reduce the quantity of cigarettes consumed necessarily. Why is that? Well, it has to do with elasticity. Think about that. And think about whether it's addictive or not. Finally, we got to public goods and common resources. And you all did pretty well in the assignment. However, I do worry that there was just more, that you were doing the assignment with one another in a way that wasn't helping one another, potentially. But no one got 100% on this. I want to ask you something. Your mother's kisses, what are they?
Sir, that's the thing. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the last one, sir. What is it called? The bottom right corner.
Yeah.
Public good.
Okay.
How-
It's the bottom right corner. I don't know what the name was.
Public
Yeah,
good.
that's public good.
It's not arrival and it's not expendable.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
doable, I mean.
Okay. So Shana, you put so Hassan, did you just say it's not rival, it's not excludable? Did you just?
Is that not the correct answer?
Okay. Okay. Right. Sorry. So Shana, I think you put private good.
Yes, I put it as private.
So that why did you put it as a private good? I'm just curious.
I don't know. Because it's from your own mom.
Do you
So,
have
I
to
don't
pay
know.
for them?
And it's just something private because you have to pay for them.
Do you pay for them?
I don't know what that.
No,
I don't know
Do you
what that.
try to-
What are you inferring about your own mum there, Hammer? Is concerning.
I don't,
Is everything okay at home, Hammer? Anyway. Anyway,
Sir, how
remember.
is it
is it a
excludable?
common
It's not right,
resource?
but it's not excludable.
Okay, so a private good, is that excludable, Shana?
I don't know the names. Okay, you ask Shanna.
So Shana, you put private good.
Yes.
So is that excludable?
Yes.
Okay. Is it rival a private good?
Yeah.
Yes,
it
a
is.
rival is a private good is rival. What does rival mean, Shana?
There's gonna be less of them.
Okay,
And you still put it there?
so yeah, Shana, if your mum gives Belinda a kiss, does that mean there are less kisses for Hannah?
Maybe, sir. I don't know.
I hope not.
Yeah. So yeah, what you're insinuating here, Shana, is that your mum is kissing people all the time, and it's like a car park. She's kissing people so much that there's not enough time for her to kiss you or anyone else. So by her kissing someone so much, it's actually diminishing the opportunity for kisses for other people. So yeah, it's not a private good. And that's why private goods work on free markets, and that's why people sell private goods on the free market, so that those who want it the most can get it. There's no issue with free riders. So if it was a private good, your mum would be selling her lips and
So,
whatever else.
Which one is it? Is it the bottom right corner, or is it the...
So let's go to you, Hammer. You put public good. So we've established that your mum's kisses are not rival, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay, that's correct. But is it excludable?
No.
Okay, that's concerning. That means anyone can run up to your mum and give her a kiss, or take a kiss from her.
No, I took excludable.
Yeah, because
excludable is...
because your mum, she has autonomy over her body, and she can say, "I'm going to kiss Belind, I'm going to kiss Shana, but I'm not going to kiss Hammer. I don't love him enough," or something like that. She can.
Wait,
she can
excludable means
exclude.
you have to pay for it.
No. No,
yeah,
it
that's what
doesn't.
you said in the lecture slides on YouTube. I swear that's what I understood.
Okay,
from
excludability.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So excludability leads to people paying for it. It's not what defines excludability. Exclusivity means that you can exclude people from taking the good. Otherwise, your mum has a free rider problem. Do you understand that? Your mum has a free rider problem. And so that means people are kissing her without paying her, or kissing her without her permission.
Wait, so are you saying that if something can be excludable?
Okay, so if something
Like,
if something is excludable, it's either a private good or a natural monopoly.
No, I get that. But so if it's excludable, like the ice cream from Abu Afif, so it's excludable. You can't take it for free, so you have to pay for it to get it, right?
Yeah. So Abu Afif have a system where they can give an ice cream to Shana, but they can stop giving. They don't have to give an ice cream to me. That system is called a counter, where you go there and you say, "Can I have an ice cream, please?" And they serve it up to you, and then they take you round to the counter, and you've got to pay. If they didn't have that system, if they just had a table outside full of ice cream and anyone could go up and take ice cream, no one would pay, because it would be basically a common resource. Because they're not excluding anyone from taking ice cream.
So are you saying that kisses from your mom is natural monopoly?
Yeah, it's a natural monopoly.
Huh.
She can, it's not rival. If she gives you a kiss, that doesn't mean she has less kisses in her lifetime that she can give. It doesn't mean, and it also doesn't mean that she can't, if she kisses you, she has to kiss everybody in the world. She can exclude people. She can choose who she kisses.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so she has a natural monopoly on her lips. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Because if it was because basically, guys, if it was a private good, that would make your mum a prostitute, and if it was a public good, that would make your mum a rape victim. So, yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a funny example, and I thought it was quite interesting that you all got that wrong. But I think the issue was you were thinking, does my mum sell her kisses or what have you? And that whether you pay for something or not, that is actually an effect rather than a defining characteristic, if that makes sense. So here's an example, guys. On Naznaz, there's a bakery, and there's a guy there who bakes bread. And I think you've got to pay 1,000 dinar for a bag of 8 samoon. But there's a big sign up above the bakery saying, if you are poor, the bread is free. So, what is his bread? Is it a private good? Is it a natural monopoly? Is it a public good? Is it a common resource? Think about that.
The bakery from where, sir?
The bakery on Naznaz, the one I've just told you about, Hama. So when I go there, I've got to pay 1,000 dinar for a bag of samoon. But there's a sign that says, if you are poor, the bread is free. Free bread for the poor. So he gives...
Is that natural monopoly?
Okay.
No.
Think about this, guys. Okay, who says natural monopoly?
So it's excludable. Because he
It's
excluded
excludable.
people.
Yeah, and it's rival. It's actually a private good, I think.
Okay, why is it excludable?
So
Because you
because he
can.
excluded people. He excluded rich people.
No, he's not excluding rich people.
He's
Sir, didn't you
excluding
say
poor
just
people.
Yeah, I'm asking about the bread. So I'm not
Yeah,
excluded. Anyone, I can go there and buy bread as someone who's comparatively rich in society.
Yes. So he just excluded the poor people, and it's rival as well. So it's a
No.
private good.
No, the poor are not excluded. They don't need to pay. They can get bread for free. So who's excluded? So people who can pay and buy the bread, they're not excluded. And people who can't buy the bread, they don't have enough money, they're not excluded. No one is excluded. There is no excludability here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it is rival. So yeah.
Was
So
it-
top, bottom left.
So what is it? What's it called?
Common
Call it common
resources.
resource?
It's a
Yeah.
common resource, yeah. Because if all of the poor people went there and got the bread, and then I went to buy bread, and he could potentially say, "Sorry, I've run out of flour. There's no more bread." But so I'm giving this example because just because you pay for something doesn't necessarily mean it's a private good or natural monopoly. That's an effect which tends to be the case. Let's look at Sami Abdul Rahman Park. What did we say Sami Abdul Rahman Park was?
Public good.
Okay, very good. What would happen if the government said we need to start charging people for using Sami Abdul Rahman, and they put a gate with a turnstile, and you had to pay 250 dinar per person to go into Sami Abdul Rahman, what does that become?
A natural
Natural monopoly.
monopoly.
Yeah, you sounded like you were having a stroke there, Shana, but yeah, you're correct. It's a natural monopoly. Yeah. Yeah, because it's not rival, it's not stopping other people from going into the park, but it's excludable now. You can exclude people. People who don't pay don't go in. What would happen if they said, okay, we want to start making some money off Sami Abdul Rahman Park, but we don't want to stop the poor people from using it. So instead of having a gate, we're going to have a little box, and it's going to say honesty box 250, or let's say they didn't have the gate, they just had an honesty box. So this is quite a common thing in New Zealand, where I don't know if they have that, probably not here in Kurdistan, but yeah, when I used to work on a farm, and we used to grow sweet corn. And at the end of the road, we used to have a stand by the road, and any cars driving past could stop by the stand. They could collect sweet corn, and they would put $1 into a little box for every ear of corn that they would buy. And there was no one there manning it. It was just completely done by honesty. What was that? Was it a natural monopoly? Was it a common resource? Was it a private good, or was it a public good? The corn. Okay, have a guess. Think about it. Is it rival? Okay, what's rival? If someone eats an ear of corn, does that mean there is less corn available for everyone else?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So is it rival?
Yes.
Very good. Is it excludable?
No.
Okay, very good. So what is it?
Not rival, not excludable.
Okay, Avan, literally within the space of 5 seconds, you've contradicted yourself. Is it excludable or is it not?
Sir, it's not excludable.
It's a common resource.
It's not excludable. Hassan, give yourself a cookie. It's a common resource. It's rival because if someone takes an ear of corn, there's going to be less corn for everyone else.
Yes.
It is not excludable because basically it's done by honesty. Anyone can drive up and take corn. There's no one forcing you to pay. It's all done on honesty. So what happens with common resources? They tend to get overused. Yeah, and we have an issue with free riders. So we did have an issue eventually of people just stealing corn because there was nothing to stop them stealing it. And eventually we realized we can't keep doing this. This worked when people were honest. It doesn't work anymore. So that was a little bit sad. Now, what would happen if, let's go back to Sami Abdul Rahman Park, and let's say the government tells everyone you must pay 250 dinar to use the park per person. And but they don't put up a turnstile gate. Instead, they put an honesty box up, and they say, pay 250 dinar here, and then you can enter. And there's no security, there's no one watching. So it's all done on honesty. What is Sami Abdul Rahman Park in that regard?
Monopoly.
No, it's the bottom left. It's not excludable and
Not a common
no.
resource.
No, wait.
Sir, you make us question ourselves.
It's the bottom right one. It's the bottom right one. So what is it called? Common resource?
Yes, common resource.
Bottom right is
Bottom
public
right is
good.
public good.
Okay, so it's probably good. Because
No.
no one is paying. There will be free riders, so
Yeah, very good. It's a public good. Yeah. So even though there's a price, it's still a public good. So I'm telling you this because what determines whether something's a private good, public good, common resource, or natural monopoly, it has to do on its rivalry and its excludability, sorry. And that tends to determine whether it's whether there's a price associated with it or not. So generally, public goods, because of the free rider problem and there's no incentive for people to pay, they tend to be free but they could make them open. A great example is museums. So museums, there's a lot of external benefit because basically museums are education facilities like a university. Therefore, the government wants to encourage people to visit museums. But museums are expensive to run, and so usually museums, they will have a voluntary donation where there will be someone who says there's a voluntary donation of $5 to visit the museum. But if you can't pay, you don't, or you don't want to pay, you don't pay. So what would a museum be in this case? Okay, guys, think
you
about
think
this.
like the Sami Abdul Rahman one?
Tell me, is it a public good? Is it a private good? Is it a common resource?
It's a public good.
Okay. Do you guys agree with Hammer?
It's not rival and it's not excludable because didn't you say that?
Yeah.
It's not excludable. So
Hammer, you're right.
Yeah, so it's the
Hammer, you're right. And the rest of you are all cowards for not agreeing with Hammer. It's not rival. If I go to the museum, it's not like there's going to be less museum for Shana. And it's not excludable because even though there's a price, it's a voluntary donation, so anyone can go. Even though there's a security person there, he's still going to let you in if you don't pay. It's voluntary donation. Public good. So, generally, the reason they're called public goods is because generally the government needs to build them because private companies don't want to build them because they can't make profits because of free riders. But it sometimes happens. So, common resources. When I was selling corn with an honesty box, it was a common resource. And I did have a problem with thieves stealing corn, being free riders. But that was less than what I would have to pay to have someone sitting on the side of the road selling corn. So I accepted it. So it was a common resource, even though it was owned by a private person, myself. Okay, guys, I think I've given you a good review on that, but yeah, you do need to probably just think about this a little bit more and study that. Guys, I'm now going to give you a couple of practice questions. So yeah, remember that being able to do that, that's important. These four quadrants. But yeah, let's do some practice now. I've got a couple of questions here. I'm not going to read you the questions. You read them by yourself, and you'll see the four answers. Choose the answer, and then after a minute or two, I'll go to the next question. And then when we do this mini trial test, we'll go back, okay, and we'll look at the answers, see how you did. But this, I want to try and emulate the exam conditions as best as I can for you, okay? Is everyone clear on how we're going to do this? Okay.
No, sir.
No?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a question. You need to think about what the read the question and then think about what the answer is, Ivan. And after a minute or two, I'll go to the next question, okay? So,
Okay.
question 1. Have a read of that.
Sir, what do you mean with Part D? People can't pay the transaction fees.
People can't pay the price that to settle a dispute. So an example would, so a transaction fee, let's say you're listening to loud music. Sorry, let's say there's a tennis court at Naz City and Belind and Hammer are playing tennis on it, and there's only one tennis court. And Belind and Hammer are enjoying their game of tennis, and they value the game of tennis they're playing at $20. Then Shana and Ivan come along, and they want the tennis court to play tennis, but it's occupied. And they love tennis more, and they would value their game at $40. And so what happens is Shana and Ivan pay Belind and Hammer $30. Belind and Hammer are happy to give the court up for $30 because they only valued their game at $20. And Shana and Ivan are happy because they get the court that they value at $40 for only $30. So all four people are happy. That's the transaction fee.
So the problem is with all of these.
Don't say the answer. Don't say the answer. We'll get back to it.
Majority of them
Isn't the
are correct.
answer?
Okay, let's go to question 2. Has everyone chosen an answer?
Yes, it's obvious.
Okay. Okay, question 2. Got a minute or two to do this.
So where's Ganjan City?
Ganjan City is a big complex to the north of Erbil, north of Bahraka and Ain Kawa. And it's on the side of the road of where they're building a 150-meter road. It's quite, it's next to Kurdistan City, if you know that.
No, sir, I don't.
It's on Massif Road,
Just ask.
basically.
It's
Kind
not,
of.
it's not on Massif Road. Be quiet, Shana.
No, it's not.
No, it's basically right next to where they're building a 150-meter road. That's what you need to know.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to question 3. So Shana fails her UKH degree. She gives up civil engineering to pursue a career as a chewing gum saleswoman.
Okay. So, but when you mean the demand for her chewing gum is elastic? Because I forgot this. It's elastic. So, do you mean it's a lot, or is it like less?
Do I mean it's a lot or less? Okay.
Yeah, the demand.
It means that the demand curve is like this rather than like this. That's more help than I should give you there, Hannah.
Okay. Yeah, that made it. Okay.
Okay. Let's go to question 4.
Sir, I only can't remember the rule.
There's no rule here. You've just got to know what opportunity cost is.
Sir, isn't it due by the calculation this minus this over this times 100?
There's no calculation you need to do. Well, there's a very basic calculation that you can do in your head. Okay, what is the cost that Hannah is feeling for doing his MSc?
So that would be 9,000. I mean 90,000.
Okay, and how? Okay, is everyone done with this question?
No, sir, wait, please.
Why is
Yeah.
it 90,000, Shana? Oh, 2 years, so it's 40,000.
So this
But
will not be happening in the exam, just so you know.
Yes, sir. Isn't opportunity cost the cost that you've basically lost? Okay.
It
so
is
that
the
one would
it
be a
is it
different
is the
answer.
cost of not doing the next best alternative.
Sir, but there's a difference between opportunity cost and the cost felt, right?
That's the definition of opportunity cost. The cost felt. Okay, can I move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all. So let's go back. Question 1. Why might Coase theorem not be a good method to fix the external cost of greenhouse gas emissions? Who put A?
Me.
Okay. Who put B?
I did.
Who put C? Who put D?
Why is no one answering?
Who's too ashamed to admit they're too dumb to answer this?
Sir, me.
Okay. So it's hard to value the external cost of climate change. That's true, but that's not the reason why Coase theorem is not a good method. Basically, the cost of climate change is about, there's been a lot of research, it's about $25 for every ton of CO2 that's put into the atmosphere. There's a bit of disagreement on that, but it's between $20 to $30. B, we do not know what is the optimum quantity of greenhouse gas emissions. Well, the great thing about Coase theorem is that you don't need to know the optimum quantity. You need to know the optimum quantity if you want to do regulation or tradable pollution permits. Coase theorem is great because you don't need to know that. How many people are affected by greenhouse gas emissions?
Everyone,
Oh,
sir.
so let's see.
Yeah, 8.5 billion people. Are you going to get 8.5 billion people in a room agreeing who pays who for how someone has hurt someone else? It's impossible. People can't pay the transaction fees. That's not necessarily the problem because it's a big external cost, but if everyone paid a little bit, they could afford it. But yeah, the transaction fees become an issue when people can't afford what they value. So there's an example I gave you of how there were 100 people who were living alongside a lake. And the lake was beautiful, and the 100 people, they love to go swimming in the lake. And then and they valued the lake, each of them, as being worth $1,000 to each person. They valued it at its $1,000 for the joy of swimming in the lake. And then a factory opens up next door and they start polluting the lake, and no one can go swimming in the lake anymore. However, there is some technology that the factory could use and it would stop polluting the lake. But the pollution, the technology to stop the pollution would cost $50,000. In Coase theorem, who pays who?
I honestly don't know, so
Okay, in Coase theorem, the people buy the technology for the factory. The factory doesn't care about the technology, so it'd say, sure, if you want to do this technology so we're not causing pollution, fine by us. The people are happy too because there's 100 people, they all pay $500, so $50,000. They all get the lake back, and they've paid $500, but they get the lake back, and it's worth $1,000. The joy of swimming for them, for each of them. So they're better off. That's Coase theorem. What's the problem with this? Why might this not work?
because there are too many stakeholders.
That might be a problem if you can't get all of the stakeholders to cooperate and coordinate, sure. But the other problem is, what if someone can't afford the $500? Even though he values the lake at being $1,000, he can't pay $500 to get it back. And so you end up with an inefficient outcome. So that's Coase theorem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so another example of Coase theorem that does work. This is an example that Avan Kanabi-Saba, the student in UG4, gave me. she lives in a house which needed a new diesel generator, and it needed to be quite a big diesel generator. And there was no place in front of the house to put the diesel generator. So the dad went along to the neighbors and said, I've got this diesel generator. It's so that I can use my air conditioner during using the generator. Can I put it in front of your house? What do you think the neighbor said? Well, the neighbor said no. But then the dad said, well, what do you value that space in front of your house as? And they came to an agreement where the neighbor said, you can put the diesel generator in front of my house, but I want to use the electricity from the diesel generator as well whenever the mains goes out. And I don't want to pay for the fuel. You pay for the diesel. So you provide the diesel and the generator, I provide the land. And Avan's father said, sure, that sounds good. I value the space in front of my house more than what it's going to cost me to provide electricity for you. And the neighbor said, I'm happy too, because I value the electricity I'm going to get from you more than the space in front of my house. So that's Coe's theorem working. Does that make sense? And so Coe's theorem sometimes is used for coming to efficient outcomes. The problem is if there's too many stakeholders and it's hard to coordinate Coe's theorem, or if someone can't afford the transaction fees. If Avan said, boy, that sounds great, but I just can't afford to pay for your electricity, it wouldn't have worked. So Coe's theorem seems to work when there's a small number of stakeholders and where there's reasonable financial equality between them. So it's often used as a solution between neighbors because there's a small number of people, and usually there's neighbors, if they're all living in the same area, they're all from the same socio-economic background, and so they value things about the same. That's a place where Coe's theorem often works. Does that all make sense?
Yes, sir. Perfect sense.
So it should be C. How many of you got C? I don't think any of you. Okay, question 2. Which of these is not an externality of the new 150-meter road project? Who put A? Traffic noise at Ganjan City. Who put B? The government will be able to sell more land to the north. Okay, so
Yes,
Shana put B. Who put okay. Avan and Hammer. So 3 of you put B. Okay, C. Who puts Bafrika residents will be able to get family more faster?
yeah,
Okay.
no answer. Basically, it's
Okay,
just us
and
three here.
who put? Oh, it's just the 3 of you now.
Yeah, Buland is not.
Oh, Hassan.
Ludram,
Hassan, what did you do?
B.
B. Okay. Did you do B, or are you just going with the tide now, Hassan, because everyone said B?
No, I just figured out all the answers except for
Okay.
the first question.
Okay, so yeah, why is it B, guys?
So
So Buland said he has internet issues. That's why
Okay.
he left.
No worries. This is being recorded. He can watch it later. God bless you, Belinda. We miss you. So B, why is it B? Why is B not an externality?
So because all of the other choices, it's like talking from the perspective of the people, but like this one is from the perspective of the government.
Yeah, so the government is not external, it's internal. The government is paying for 150-meter road. So it's an internal benefit, not an external one. Very good. Okay, Shana and the chewing gum.
B also.
Okay, so who put A? Who put B?
I did.
Same.
Me.
Okay, okay, good. So when it's elastic, you lower the price, and the quantity of chewing gum she sells would increase so much that she actually makes more revenue. Is chewing gum usually elastic or inelastic, though?
Elastic.
Yeah, so it's elastic.
So if Shana decreased the price of chewing gum from 500 dinar to 250 dinar, she would be selling 3 times as much chewing gum.
Yes.
No, not necessarily.
No. What chewing gum is really inelastic. If I when I'm driving and I want to buy chewing gum and I get to an intersection and I wind down the window and I say, "Oi, you, Shana, how much for chewing gum?" She's not going to say, "Oh, it's 250 dinar," and I'm not going to go, should I buy it? Should I not? It's not really going to matter to me. If she says 250 or if she says 500 dinar, I'm probably still going to pay it. Why? Because it's a very small portion of my income. Yeah, when it's something that is so insignificant in a small portion of someone's income, then there's a lot of it's very inelastic. Shana has the ability to change the price, and it's not really going to influence how many people buy chewing gum. Maybe 1 or 2 people might say, no more chewing gum for me. If you're going to charge, 300 baisa or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, it's inelastic because it's a small portion of her income. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Question 4. Who puts A? Who put B? Who put C? And who put D?
It's B.
I did.
Me.
So some of you put B, some of you put D.
No.
So I
I
put
don't-
D.
D.
Last one.
Okay. So Hassan, good work. It's B.
Yeah,
The
that's right.
opportunity cost is the cost of not doing the next best alternative. So Hummer's next best alternative would have been to have carried on working. And if he had carried on working, he would have made $80,000 in those 2 years. He would have also have saved $10,000 in tuition fees. So he would have been $90,000 better off. That is the opportunity cost of Hummer doing his MSc. In order for Hummer to do an MSc, he needed to value the MSc as more than $90,000. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
it is the cost that he feels when he does the MSc. And
Are
that's,
those in the final exam?
yeah, questions like this, yeah, definitely. So answer B. So how many, was that all? Was there a 5th question?
No, that was all, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
how many of you got 4 out of 4? 3?
Yeah.
Okay, good work, Hammer. 2?
Here.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, Hassan, how did you do?
3.
Good work, Hassan. Very good work. Okay, so remember, guys, that you'll get 25 questions like this. Some will be probably a bit easier than this, I'll have to say, but that it's a similar ilk, and you'll have 1 hour to do them. At this point, this is the end of the review. But are there any questions? And also, is there any feedback for me on how I can improve the module? First off, are there any questions on the exam, on the curriculum, on anything about economics?
No, sir.
Okay, that's
No,
good.
sir.
Okay, that's good. Last time I did this morning for another module, and the question is, sir, why do we need to know this at the end of a 9-week semester? It was quite disheartening. So thanks for not asking that. Okay, guys, I guess I've got questions for you too then. I think, is this the 3rd or 4th module I've taken you for now?
4th, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
was drawing, concrete,
Building,
materials.
yeah. So, yeah, I will probably have you for 1 more module, potentially. That'll be project management, which we'll probably do. That'll probably be your final semester. And potentially, I could have some of you for 4th year students too, but for the final year project. But I wanted your feedback, and is there any way I can improve the module? Is there any way I can improve myself as a teacher? Now, I know that culturally it's often very hard to give criticism of a superior or someone in authority. I just want you to know that I'm completely comfortable with you criticizing me, even in front of other people. So if there's anything that I can improve this module by, if you thought there was anything that wasn't very clear that I could have taught better in, please let me know. If you've got any feedback, I would really like to know it. That's the only way I can improve. Or positive feedback too, if there's something that you really liked and you wanted to do more of it.
Sir, the thing is, when you appeared that I had 7 classes, and you were like you were so understanding me that I had lots of loads this semester. I really, really like this one.
Yeah.
I was like, he's the best.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous, Sivan, that you're doing 7
Yeah,
assignments.
this is personal. This is personal.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's ridiculous. The Ministry of Higher Education in Kurdistan has this ridiculous rule that you can't do modules in the summer. That's so. When I was at university, if I failed a module, I would do it in the summer, and that's how I would catch up. They don't, for whatever reason, you can't do that here, and that's why we end up having students doing multiple modules. I think 5 modules is really the maximum you should be doing. So, yeah, just be aware. I'm always comfortable giving extensions to assignments if I can, and if people ask for them and they've got a reasonable reason. So, yeah.
Sir?
Yep.
For like the videos on YouTube, it would have been fun and exciting, like if you put like questions, like multiple choice questions, and then at the end you would give us the answers. That would like make us like watch till the very end to know the answers and if we're correct. So if we're interested in something.
Okay,
and
so
like for me, questions.
So a few more practice questions and things during the lecture.
Yeah, like probably, like explain something and then like put some multiple choice questions and then like just go on until like the very end and
Okay.
put the answers on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that, Hammer. That helps.
And yeah. And what I would really appreciate is like, okay, so you can take criticism well, yeah?
You're about to find out.
Okay. Well, in some parts of the lectures, like when you would like bring up a story that isn't very relevant to the lecture slides, that to me like just made me slightly bored. It would make me like distract myself with my phone until like the story is finished. I'm so sorry again for saying this.
No. It's fine. Can you give me an example, Hammer?
Yeah, like that one time when you started talking about like religion and stuff in one of the videos.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was probably digressing. Yeah. That's not necessary.
And I'm sorry again about that.
No. I think I was trying to give an example of an externality being influenced by culture or something. I can't quite. No. Oh, it had to do with Islamic banking, didn't it? I think.
Yeah. I think it was something like that.
So it was kind of related, just in my defense. But yeah, sure. Yeah. But yeah, I could be more succinct. Sure. Thanks, Hammer.
Well, thank you, and I'm sorry again.
Yeah. Well, that's completely going to influence how I mark your exam, Hammer. In terms of level of enjoyment, was this one of your more enjoyable modules or one of the least enjoyable ones in terms of how fun it was? This was the most enjoyable for you, Hammer.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir, it was for me too.
Cool. That's good. Some people love economics. Some people hate it, I've found, and it's very binary. There isn't a lot of middle ground. Ivan, you hated it? No comment. Okay. Hassan, how did you find it?
Sorry, sir, what was your question?
How much have you enjoyed economics? Was it one of your more enjoyable modules?
Yes, sir.
It was. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In terms of level of difficulty, how hard it is, was it one of your harder modules or one of the easier modules or in the middle?
Yeah. It was one of the easy modules, but like your English skills are too high, as Shana mentioned before. I could not understand the questions like well.
In the assignments.
Yes, and in this practice questions, also the first question, I did not know like what the question wants.
Okay.
Or it asks the options. I did not understand them, not the question. Sorry.
Okay.
So in the exam, I hope it's not like that.
So I try to make my questions as succinct and clear as possible and not leave room for ambiguity. But if the problem is with your lack of English skills, I can't dumb down a question to make room for that. That's not appropriate. But what you can do, Ivan, if you come to a question that you don't understand fully or you want clarification, you can phone me during the exam, okay? And ask for clarification. What do I mean?
Okay, sir.
You can phone me, but I can't teach you, but I can clarify.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So like this example, the practice first one, you were not teaching us, you were just clarifying what is the last
Yes.
what you mean.
So yeah, when Shana said, what do I mean by transaction fees? That was borderline explanation. That was borderline teaching. But yeah, a transaction fee is the money that one person pays to another when making an agreement. That's probably what I would have told Shana if she had asked me in the exam. So just with Avan, what's your problem with English? Is it vocabulary or is it grammar or both?
It's like both.
Both.
And I hate English, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Well, I hate the English, so works out. Yeah, and okay, in terms of yeah, I really want to apologize. I think engineering economics is, in many ways, it's a module that really isn't well suited to online learning, because I think it's one of those modules I would normally use the whiteboard for an awful lot. So that made it difficult. And also, it's been very truncated. So we didn't really get into some real technical civil engineering related economics scenarios. But the main thing you need to take away from this is externalities, public goods, common resources. That's sort of the foundation stuff you need to know to be a successful engineer in the industry. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will finish this meeting here then. And I want to thank you. Online learning is a bit of a challenge, and we've had to deal with the goalposts shifting, going from 10 weeks to 9 weeks, and the module descriptor changing a number of times. But I really think you've dealt with it amicably well. I'm actually very proud of all of you. I thought you've done really well. So congratulations, and I'm praying that we can all be on campus and studying in person together next semester.
Sorry, thank you so much. This class
Hopefully.
was very fun and interesting, and I'm very sorry again about my feedback.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize. You're welcome to give feedback. I invited it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks so much, guys. I'll
Thank you so
stop
much.
the